What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the MSR Workshop. We are going to be doing another unboxing today of an Athlon optics rifle scope. I think you really like this one, so stick around. Okay, guys, so this is the Athlon Optics Aries ETR Gen2 Ultra HD rifle scope in a 15 to 60 by 56 powered scope. So yes, we have got a Ultra HD rifle scope that goes all the way up to a 60x magnification with a really awesome looking reticle that was kindly sent to me by Athlon Optics for review for you guys. I just peeked in the box. I have not taken this out or really looked through it at all, but what I saw made me really excited. So let's first go over the box, because Athlon has designed a beautiful looking box. You have all of your specs for your scope written either on this side or the back, which makes it nice in case you want to say, hey, what size fret tube do I have? What size scope rings do I need? All of that. You don't have to pull out the manual and thumb through it until you find it. So let me tell you a little bit about the specifics on this scope before we get it all out of the box and see what awesome things come in here. So the Aries ETR GEN2 Ultra HD comes with a 56 millimeter front lens here, and field of view is 7.84 to 1.94 feet at 100 yards. We have an overall length of 15.9 inches and a tube size of 34 millimeters. So it's not the biggest on the market at 34, or at least 34 is the biggest that I've seen, but still a nice size to let lots of light in. Key importance for me is your parallax goes down to 10 yards, so you still can focus at things very close up. Weight on this is 38.4 ounces, and a big important thing is the eye relief for me as well at 3.7 inches. So eye relief is really nice, so you don't have to have it right up there. Don't smack yourself in the face if you have a high recoiling rifle. Magnification is 15 to a whopping 60 power. Your click value on this particular one is 0.125 MOA. So let's go ahead and get this out of the box and see what first impressions are. But just really like this box. It's just kind of got a glossy matte finish. So combination of the two. Inside, once again, just a beautifully laid out packaging. Makes you feel like you're buying a premium scope. So right off the bat, you have a nice little Ziploc bag, which comes with a lens cleaning cloth, a couple extra Allen set screws for your zero stop, which I've never seen these come extra before, which is super cool because these are little bitty, and if you ever were to screw one out all the way on your scope and drop this, having a replacement is very, very nice. Also the little Allen wrench for that. A different size Allen wrench for, I'm assuming, some other stop. You have your manual and all the settings. And it seems to be a very nice laid out manual. Setting those aside, it comes with sticker cards for your parallax, and it comes with a parallax wheel, and it comes with a nice big one. So if you choose to put this extra parallax wheel on, you can stick stickers on it and set this where you need to set, or it comes with blank ones to write in custom ones, which is super cool for those of you that do field target shooting and you need to set up your distances for quick reference. Next, it comes with lens caps, but these are not just any lens caps. They are threaded and they are metal with little gaskets, and I have never seen another scope come with threaded metal lens caps that are flip up. Now I've seen a few scopes with threaded metal caps that just screw on, but never ones with flip up caps. Now I know Leupold makes some aftermarket caps that are metal, but these seem to be a little bit heavier duty than the Leupold ones. I have one of the Leupold ones. They are expensive. They're about $100 per cap, and these seem to be better made. So we'll get those threaded on. I love threaded caps and threaded metal scopes. When you pay a lot for a scope, you want some nice lens caps, and half of the time you get a nice scope with cheap caps. I wish all scope companies would come with threaded ones and that are metal, just because that just is the icing on the cake. You have your screw-on threaded metal lens shade, and it appears that yes, the front of it is threaded as well, which means you can still use your beautiful threaded metal lens cap, which, by the way, lays flat with your sunshade on it. That is a very nice touch. Good for you, Athalon. Lifting the scope out itself, and I believe that is it for the box. Let's go ahead and set that aside. Pulling this out of the packaging, right away I noticed that it's got some weight to it, which is not a bad thing, especially if you're going to be shooting Benchrest, which this is primarily what that is for. This is going to be for ELR, Benchrest, airgun shooters who wants high magnification with a precision floating dot and a second focal plane. So second focal plane scope are great for those guys that don't move around a lot. It is also an illuminated scope, and so let's go ahead and screw this guy off, and it comes with a battery, which is nice as well. Most of these do not come with the CR2032 battery. That is something that you have to put in yourself. And picking the sticker off the top, which tells you you've got a battery in there, you have a etched Athlon Optics logo. There we go. And it tightens down and tightens straight up and down. That is something also very nice that they paid attention to. If they didn't pay attention to where they cut their threads, you would have your Athlon Optics, you know, off kilter like that, which is just purely aesthetic, but that would bug me if they did that. Next, you have an on-off between each illumination level, which is very, very nice, because if you have it 1 to say 11, and you have to crank through all those different levels to turn it on and off, which is kind of a pain. Looking at the front of the scope, you have your 15 to 60 power markings on here, and you have the red 40. And 40 is what this scope manufacturer says that it is optimized for. Once you go past 40, you start to lose a little bit of light and clarity. So they mark this to tell you where your best magnification for the high range is going to be. But very, very smooth. Your throw lever is already come attached, but if you do want to take that off, you can. But it is a metal threaded one. Your diopter adjustment is very smooth and typical. I wish the knurling on this was just a little bit grippier, but that's okay. It keeps it flush and in line with the front of the barrel. The turrets are nice and chunky. Let's take a listen to those. Oh, very, very firm. So, nice and noisy turrets. How about this one? Is this one a locking one? Yes. So pull up. And to lock this, push right down. The locks in between are quite chunky, which makes it so when you screw, you don't get hung up between some. I've got some where I turn them. You have to kind of wiggle it just a little bit to push it back down. This does not appear to be that way. Parallax adjustment goes all the way down to 10 yards and then to that infinity adjustment. Beautiful, beautiful scope. And also on the ring, it tells you your torque settings for putting on your rings. So that is awesome that they included that, because if you over tighten these, you can damage it, so you don't want to do that. Looking at that front glass, you can see the reflection of the green in there. That is your anti-glare coating. Fully multi-coated lenses. So let's go ahead and screw these lens caps on just to see what they look like on, because I am very excited about that. So front and rear, which is quite uncommon. And it does not appear. Oh, yep. So this moves independently of the front locking ring. So if you need to move this for some reason, you can straighten it back out with the top and then close that down. So very premium looking scope. And that one is off just a little bit. So you would bring that guy back around and they lay completely flat. Last but not least, your parallax wheel. So that big screw in there was, I believe, a set screw for setting up your parallax. And this guy would lock on here. And then you have your parallax go like that. So let's go ahead and get this mounted up and take some peeks through this beauty and see what it looks like. Alright guys, before we get this mounted up to the rifle, we are going to do our color testing and test our turrets. Right away, I was just blown away on the crisp, rich color that came through this scope. I was not expecting that. So our windage and elevation are pretty chunky turrets, which is a good thing, gives you something to grab onto, and they are quite annoyingly loud, but that's okay, especially for people that, you know, have a hard time hearing or just like a loud turret, which I actually prefer. So let's start cranking this guy down. And sorry for the shakiness, but this is the best I could do on my little tripod. And that is all the way down. Next, we are going to start cranking this guy back up, see if we can't return to 0. And 0 was pretty close to the center of the target with that floating dot. One thing to take note is I am recording with the ScopeMate S28 4K. This is the 4K scope camera by ScopeMate. It does a pretty good job, but if you don't get it set up just right, it does make your picture look all a little fuzzy. Now today I'd gotten it set up pretty good, so it looks really, really good. Now the haziness on the edge of the picture is from the camera and not the scope itself. This was crystal clear from edge to edge. Now we're going to start cranking this the other way, and I'm making sure that this thing is kind of set up in the middle of the target. So in theory, I could line it back up. Now I don't have one of those rock solid mounts that I can crank the heck out of this thing without having camera shake, so just a little bit of darkness on that right side, and that's the inside of the tube. And in most scopes, not all, but most scopes, you'll get just a tiny bit of that. Now the really cheap scopes, you can actually see part of the inside of the barrel, but even still. Now this is a 30 millimeter tube. So say on a 34 millimeter tube, which is a little bit bigger, you would get more travel in both windage and elevation. But because this is a 30 mil tube, you don't have quite as much adjustment with it, but you still have plenty, especially for this type of scope. And we have 1/8 MOA click, so it takes quite a few clicks to get very far. So now we are back at 0, and it looks like it lined up pretty darn good. Next, let's go ahead and try out our zoom. And it starts at a 15, that's the lowest magnification. And as we go in, I believe the next one is 20, that's I believe 30. Still getting great color. Can read everything very, very clearly. There, I believe, is 40 magnification, which is where the scope manufacturer says that it is optimized to go up to. Once you get past, I believe, 40, you'll notice that it gets a little bit darker, but really not that much. I was highly surprised for a 60 power scope how clear it was all through the magnification range. Now right here I'm just making sure that it's completely focused. And here in a second we'll get all the way up to that 60 power. There we go, I focused it here. Now through the naked eye, it's a lot easier to focus than through the scope cam because the scope cam is kind of picky. And sorry, somebody walked in front of it. My son was out mowing the lawn when I was checking this. And I believe that was all the way up at 60. So it had a really great looking color. Zooming all the way back out to 15. Now let's go and check some other locations at some distance. All right, our next object that we're looking at is this radio tower here, and specifically that dish. Where I had this range, it was about 560 yards. So something good to look at is that dish with the writing in the middle. That's like kind of keep that in the middle as much as possible. Sorry once again for the shakiness. But as I zoom in every now and then, I will check my focus just to make sure it is nice and clear, or at least as clear as I can humanly get it. Just because the camera that I'm using is fairly picky with focus, even though it may look completely focused with the naked eye, me looking through it, it ends up being not as clear through the video. So if it looks clear to you in this video, it was even clear me just looking at it. It was a really crystal clear, bright picture. I did have to adjust my automatic exposure one time because it was so bright that it just blew everything out, made this look washed out, made it look hazy. So this is kind of the best I was able to get it through my little scope cam. Trying to center that up one more time. And we will zoom in all the way up to that 60 power. Once we get it zoomed all the way in, I'll check the focus one more time, and then I will go ahead and actually turn the illumination on. And this is the brightest level of illumination. It's not crazy bright, but it doesn't blow the center out, which is important. Sometimes if you have it on all the way, it kind of makes that center kind of bloom and bleed into everything. Here I actually use the digital zoom on the camera to focus all the way in, and that way what I can do is I can check the focus of the camera through the scope, make any fine adjustments, and then I can digitally zoom back out, and that is going to be the best picture that my equipment can possibly do for you. So hopefully you guys don't get motion sickness, because this was a little bit rough just for a second. So there is as clear as you are going to get at 60 power through this fantastic scope. See a little bit of mirage down there, but really not bad at all. Alright, here is my little 20-yard backyard range, and we are going to go ahead and get this sighted in. So I believe I have got this set up to, I think this is the 15 power, and I usually shoot at about 30 power, so I'm going to zoom in on this here in just a second. I've got this zoomed all the way out though, just to see where I'm shooting, and you can see it's way down there at the 8, so I'm going to need to do some adjustment here. And let's do another shot here. So I need to go a little bit to the left. And I think I maybe went a little too far. Let's try a couple more clicks and see if I've got it. Oh, that looked good. Let's see if I can shoot there again. Get this focused here. And we are shooting a 22 caliber AGT Vixen airgun. So I am at 30 power right now, and I just had to reload there for a second. So same hole. Let's move down to these targets here. Okay. Let's try again. And that was the same hole there. So really good groups at 20 yards. These little circles are just about the same size as the 22 pellet. But if you've never shot air guns before, they are a lot of fun. And this AGT Vixen that I'm shooting here is really, really accurate. I'm shooting 13.43 grain JSB pellets. And making some adjustments here. So let's move on to my next target, where I finally get this perfectly dialed in where I want it. So the goal on this one is to hit the circles without hitting the line. So I did pretty good. Hit the line on that one. Of course, this is actually meant for a 177, so you have a little bit more wiggle room. But it is hitting dead on right where I want to hit it each time. All right, guys, let me give you my final thoughts on this Athlon Aries HD scope. It really is an amazing scope. The hardest part about making this video is realizing that I have a scope that is almost 4 times more expensive than this one, and this one is just as good, and in small areas maybe better. And that really hurts to say because I paid almost $5,000 for another scope that is on par with this one. I'm not kidding. This thing is amazing. From the fit and finish to the metal lens caps to the way the turrets work, everything about this is just really, really good. And yeah, you saw the color representation. Now I am shooting this through a camera. I'm using the ScopeMate S28 4K, and sometimes that doesn't really represent what you're getting through the scope with a naked eye. Some of the edge fuzziness that you may see, that is the camera and not the scope. It was crystal clear edge to edge. And I don't have enough good things to say about it. So much so that this replaced my primary optic on one of my Benchrest rifles from the Delta Striker 5 to 50 to this one here. Now this does not go down to that 5-yard range, but 15 to 60 is more than enough for me on everything that I'm going to be shooting at. If you guys want to know more about the Athlon Aries HD scope, just check out my description below where I'll have a link and a small discount code. But if you guys have any comments, questions, or suggestions, or would like to see more stuff like this, be sure and shoot me a message and I try to respond to everybody. But I would love for you to hit that like and subscribe button and stay tuned for all the videos that I drop. Until next time, guys, thanks again.